Welcome to Pigskins and Pageantry, a podcast dedicated to all things SEC football. My name is Wes, and I'd like to invite you to join me, Jesse, and Matt each week as we discuss last week's games, news from around the league, make predictions for the upcoming games, and much, much more. And what's up, everybody? It's Wes. We had some blowouts. We had some close games. We had a derailment of the lane train, and just so many things to talk about from last week. But joining me, as always, first, Jesse, how are you doing? How was the weekend for you?
It was rainy, it was cold, it was spooky, so all good things. And luckily, the Bama game wasn't too scary.
Spooky as all weekends should be, so yes. Matt, what's going on, my friend?
Well, as you can see, I am fully prepared for this week because I'm in a Kentucky Fried Chicken waiting for my order of freshly fried chicken. Haha. We're playing Carolina this week. It's topical. It's funny.
It's topical. It's funny. And it's hopefully not too arrogant after last year. So, yes.
No. Although there's already some bad blood on the Twitter. So.
Oh, good times. I mean, as you would expect, it's the way it's supposed to be.
Yep.
All right.
By the way, Jesse, hold on, Wes. Before we get into
it,
as the representative of the female side of the species, I would like to know something. How come this time of year, in this year in particular, it seems like every girl I know is just dying for fall to be here? They're all wanting it, every single one of them, more so than any other time in the past that I've been aware of, anyway.
I feel like it's been that way for a while.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like we're all, everybody loves fall fashion. We love pumpkins. We love spice. We love lattes.
Everybody wants
we love
spooky season
together. Pumpkin and spice.
We're tired of it being super hot, and we get to do fun fall things. So
yeah, when it was like 100 degrees every day, I would say that I was ready for fall as well. So yeah.
The house was, I decorated the house in all Halloween things this weekend. So
well, hey, you almost waited for October. That's commendable.
But like not like thankful fall things. Like bless this home. Absolutely not. There's like skulls and dripping candles and like altars and stuff. It's very fun.
I think you should have 3 skeletons of live, laugh, love. So
well, I can't really say live.
Well, I mean, they're in their own way. You know what I mean? Don't judge them. Anyway, we're off the rails already. Let's go ahead and talk about those games from last week.
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
All right. Well, the first game was Auburn at Texas A&M. Texas A&M winning this in 27-10. I got the point here. There really wasn't a whole lot going on in this game early on. And then Connor Wigman he left the game with a leg injury. And then Max Johnson, you'll recall, was also on their team, took over, and A&M found a spark on offense, pulled away, and then never looked back. Jesse, let's start with you on this one. Like, is this sort of what you expected from this game? It seemed a little odd to me. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, it was a little bit odd to me. I didn't pick Texas A&M to win. So I think Peyton Thorne's confidence was something that was really highly talked about coming out of the Cal game. And it just didn't seem like it was at the same level or really existed in this game. And maybe it was because it's SEC play. I'm not sure, but his passes were all over the place. He overthrew a potentially improbable scoring drive to Fair on the sideline. And he was really indecisive and uncertain in the pocket, which I think is one of the reasons he got brought down so much by the Texas A&M pass rushers, especially in the first half. But eventually he got pulled for Robbie Ashford in the third quarter. So it felt like Auburn didn't have much of an offensive identity in this one. They didn't really use the run game enough. The quarterbacks couldn't connect with open receivers, and the plays took a really long time to actually get called. So then the play clock becomes a factor. They're starting to feel a little bit rushed all over the place. It just felt a little messy. And then on the Texas A&M side, they, like you said, they lost their starter in the second half, but they seemed to wake up in the third quarter. Their pass rush seemed to come alive. Like I said, they sacked the duo of Auburn quarterbacks for a combined 7 times, which is a lot of times to be on the grass. And it also seemed to me like the Texas A&M's quarterback room might be decent.
Yeah, and I mean, if there's anything that Hugh Freeze is going to want is an identity. I mean, he's known for that offensive mind. So, Matt, what were your thoughts on this game? What can Auburn do pushing forward to find that offensive identity? What do you think? I mean, it's just rough right now.
Yeah, I was looking over the stat line for this. I didn't have a chance to watch this particular game, but boy, both QBRs are sub 20 for Auburn. Barely over 200 yards of offense. I think grand total 56 yards in the air. 7 sacks for Texas A&M in this game. That's bad juju. You're not going to be able to do anything in the SEC against that. And we knew Hugh Freeze was going to need a little bit of time to get this thing kind of turned around, but yeesh, that's just really not good at all. And again, Max Johnson coming off the bench and going 7 out of 11 for 123 yards and 2 TDs is pretty good. So a little bit of a quarterback controversy in Junction Station. It might be a bit of an issue there. Maybe Connor Wegman needs to go find something else to do for a minute or two. But as far as what Auburn could do, I don't know. I think you're going to have to go back to basics a little bit with that quarterback room. You're going to have to find a way to get those quarterbacks and wide receivers to hook up a lot more reps in practice. Again, that's tough sledding. It's really tough sledding. And the running back duo of Brian Batty and Jarquez Hunter, I mean, they got plus 50 yards. I mean, every time Brian Batty touched the ball, he got at least 7 yards for the most part. So not a bad day on the ground. It was hard to get anything going in the air. And if you're one-dimensional, you really can't lean on the other side of the game, and that could be to your detriment, as Auburn found out this weekend.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know what's happening with quarterbacks in Auburn. I mean, we look at Bo Nix this weekend.
right.
Yeah,
That's a glaring
Whoa.
example.
Just whoa, in Auburn it was like woof, and now it's whoa.
Yeah, I have to feel like that's going to change with Freeze there, but you're absolutely right. I mean, an absolute mismanagement of quarterbacks has been the case there for a little while now. Jimbo did offer an update on Wigman. He said that he's day to day, so we really don't know as far as the Wigman injury. But the good news for A&M fans is that Max Johnson did a pretty darn good job, and so I think they'll be okay if Wigman can't go. And like you said, maybe even a little bit of a quarterback controversy. So
I'd say a lot of bit of a quarterback controversy if the guy comes off the bench and looks better than the starter.
I was gonna say, especially since it seemed like they were struggling even before the injury, and they found that spark after. So, all right, let's move to Kentucky at Vanderbilt. Kentucky winning this one 45-28. Matt got the point here. I thought this one might be a little bit closer. I'm not saying I thought Vandy was going to beat them, but I certainly thought it was going to be a little bit closer. And it was a turnover fest too. I mean, you got 3 turnovers for Vandy, 2 for Kentucky. And also, I don't know if you guys watched the interviews after the game, but Ray Davis is an absolute hype man for his team, and I love it. And obviously this game was a little personal for him too, playing Vandy. So, Matt, let's start with you this time. What was your thoughts on Kentucky at Vandy?
This is what I was anticipating. I mean, let's be honest, Vanderbilt hasn't looked stellar in the couple of games we've seen them play up until this point. I really wasn't expecting a whole lot. I mean, AJ Swan had an awful game. 16 of 40 for 189 yards and 3 interceptions. That's not going to get it done. By the way, that's a QBR of 4.7.
Ouch.
4.7. Like, we were just dogging on Auburn's QBs, and AJ Swan 4.7 in 40 attempts. Ooh, that's real bad. And Devin Leary for Kentucky didn't look a whole lot better. I mean, granted, he was over 200 yards, but still gave up 2 interceptions. Also QBR of 28. So QB playing these first 2 games is not where you're looking if you want to put on a clinic. This is not where you need to be coming to. But again, this is what I anticipated a little bit. I'm curious to see how Kentucky is going to respond going into next week against Florida. That's a big prime time matchup for Florida this year, or for Kentucky this year. And I think that's at Kroger Field, if I remember correctly. So it's going to be, the East is completely wide open once you get outside of Georgia. Like, who's in second? Great question. We don't know.
Yeah. Jesse, your thoughts on this one?
I liked the Ray Davis story. I mean, if you put it into context for those that don't realize that he played for Vanderbilt last year, now transferred and is playing for Kentucky, but last year he actually put a hurting on the Wildcats. He rushed for 129 yards on 26 carries and a touchdown to help Vanderbilt stun Kentucky 24-21 in Lexington. And then now, a year later, he's wearing blue instead of black, and he came into Nashville and actually, helped the Wildcats put a little hurting on the Commodores. So he finished with 17 carries for 78 yards, not quite the performance of last year, 2 touchdowns, including a 1-yard TD with 6 minutes and 44 seconds left in the third quarter. So that was a fun story, but again, quarterback issues on both sides of the ball. Obviously, it's very hard to win when you have 2 turnovers on the Kentucky side and then 3 on the Vanderbilt side, but they're going to have to clean it up. I mean, even on defense for Kentucky, you look at the stat line, there was 328 total yards of offense for Vanderbilt with a quarterback that had a QBR of 4%. That ain't great. Not a good look.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, if you're a fan of teams taking care of the football, this was not the game for you. So, all right, let's move to Ole Miss at Bama. And Bama winning this one decisively in the end, 24-10. I got the point in this one. It wasn't always that decisive, but in the end it was. So, Jesse, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you for your summary of this one and kind of what your thoughts were on it.
Oh, so it's still stressful. Like, regardless, and that's not even like a high score comparatively to what it's been before. But I think what became obvious, even though I think we knew that after last week's game, Milroe is clearly the best option. He still struggles with accuracy and, some of the things in between. He is not always the best at being decisive, I think, but he's the best option we got. And then, it's our O-line. Like I talked about, last week, it's just, we have a terrible offensive line. And so it's really hard as a quarterback, I'm sure, when you have a terrible offensive line to be accurate or to be decisive because you have so much pressure coming your way. I will say, because Milroe is a threat with his feet and can kind of scramble or, get a first down on his own, that does help a little bit more. He also can scramble, which allows the offensive line, which is terrible, to open up some lanes for some of our other guys. So we'll see, but it is a concern when we have a lot of sacks. But this time, only 3.9 yards per carry, which, okay. If you remove the sack yardage and all. But I would say our defense was what kept us in this game and made it the score that it was. Thank goodness. But the other concern for us is we've got to be better in the red zone. If you watch the game, you saw that we had 5 red zone possessions and scored only, 1 touchdown. We settled for 3 field goals, and Milroe was intercepted once in the red zone. We also, oh my God, can we just talk about the stupid play calling? Just really quick, just really, really quick. Tommy Rees and even Nick Saban called this out this week. Why are you in the shot? Why are you in the gun when it's
right
on the 1 yard line?
And you've had issues snapping the ball.
That's
also
a Tennessee strategy. You go third and short, and you go up from shotgun. Yeah, we played that game before.
We were on the 1 yard line. We do that is a terrible snap. We've had terrible snaps throughout the season thus far. Don't even get me started on the center. And whoopsie. We're literally sitting there. My boyfriend goes, "Hey, that's awesome. Look, you guys did a great play. You've got it. You're on the 1 yard line. You're going to score." And I was like, "We'll find a way to mess it up. Watch it. And then he's like, "Why are you guys in the shot? Why are you doing that?" And I was like, "Don't know." And then the snap goes, and I was like, "I hate it here."
It's been a long time since I've heard a Bama fan be really jaded about something. I mean, long
it's a nice
time.
Change of pace, isn't it, Wes?
Just saying, don't hear that often. That's all I'm saying. But
I know, but yes. Woof.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, did
No,
have anything
that's
else?
all I got. I'm just now back in my feelings.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you said, Milrow, he did better than the other two guys did last week. And I think if I'm a Bama fan, I look at the three of them and I'm like, he gives us the best chance to win. Like, is he gonna make mistakes? Sure. But if I'm looking at the three of them and who gives us the best chance to win, it's definitely Milrow. He did have one of those bad interceptions where he just sort of floated it out there right to the guy underneath who he apparently didn't see. And that's another thing we were kind of talking about as we were watching the game is I don't know how well he's seeing the field. Now, look, he only missed 4 of his passes, so it's not that terrible. But
Right.
some of his mistakes are big when he doesn't see the defense. So, you know,
I think some of it is just like he obviously has a lot of pressure because our line just isn't holding blocks, isn't blocking. And
he's the quarterback at Bama. That's pressure in and of itself.
Yeah, and he's trying to make reads, I think, but I think he's just getting flustered. He has much more composure than when we saw him last season in games, but it's not there yet. And when you go from someone like Bryce Young, who has more composure than I will ever muster up in my entire life in less stressful situations, it's hard to compare. And so, I mean, I'm acting like I'm patient with this young man. If you watch games with me, I'm not very patient, but when I sit back and think about it, it is hard to be compared to someone like Bryce Young and, be the guy that follows him up, especially when you have a terrible offensive line.
Well, a long line too, not just Bryce, but you like Tua. I mean, how many great quarterbacks have there been?
Tua,
And
Mac Jones, Jalen Hurts. I mean,
yeah, and the list goes on.
AJ
Really,
McCarron wasn't bad either.
no.
no,
And
no.
then so on the other side of the ball, Ole Miss struggled to run the ball as they have all year, really, and putting it all on Jackson Dart's shoulders. Like I mean, the dude is good, I think, but that's a lot to ask of the young man. So in the second half, you could tell though, Ole Miss's defense, they were just getting gassed, and Bama. I see, I said in the beginning of this segment or the beginning of talking about this game that it wasn't close in the beginning, but at the end it was a decisive one, and that was part of the decisiveness, as they really could just run at will. Bama could, and there wasn't much Ole Miss could do about it. And then you want to talk about play calling. Okay, so Love Lane, great offensive mind. He's come up with some great stuff over the years. But like, what are all these like jet sweeps and these crazy play calls that don't seem to fit the situation? And plus, the team had a general lack of urgency when it comes to like clock management and stuff too. That is glaring as well.
Clock management.
Yeah, I mean, they were just like I was texting you guys during the game. I'm like, Bama's like, sure, run it, throw the short pass here, and we'll give you a few yards. Sure, go ahead and waste a full minute on one play. We're happy to give that up. So I don't know, Matt, what are your thoughts on this one?
Real quick, if you'll pardon me, I just have to.
Sure. Yes.
Hey, where is Quinshon Judkins? Oh, Google doesn't know either. What is going on? Like, there was so much hype. There was so much hype at the beginning of the season. This cat got 1,500 yards rushing last season, and he has done nada the entirety of this season. And please, Quinshon, if you're watching this, we understand that football is a very complex thing.
Very hard.
But like when you look at the stat line for the kid, he's had roughly about 13 to 18 carries in every game this season. He just cracked over 50 with the Alabama game. He had 60 against Mercer, which was a 73-7 blowout. His longest run of the season so far has been 14 yards. Where in the world did Judkins go? Because we were under the impression that he was going to be an all-American running back this season, and we have not gotten that at all. I'm not sure if it's because Lane switched up his call, like his way he calls his offense, but like that's the glaring thing here. And as an Ole Miss fan, I would be scratching my head. I'd be like, why are we not running the ball more effectively? Is it an O-line issue? Is it a scheme issue? What's going on, and why in the world can we not get anything going on the ground? And again, if you run the ball a little bit more effectively against Bama, Ole Miss probably finds a way to win this game. But they couldn't keep their defense off the field. And like you said, Wes, they outscored them 18-3 in the second half. You can't win ball games that way. You just can't. So I'm not sure what to make of this aside from, just Ole Miss is going to have to figure something out, figure out a way to get the ball to your playmakers. And if you have to turn around and hand it off to him 15, 20 times in like a row, then do that. But Judkins is way too talented to just be sitting in the backfield, not doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, even the most talented running back can't go anywhere if the line doesn't block, right? If there's no hole to run through, doesn't matter. So
also that poor kicker, that one kick was really bad.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was talking about the kind of duck hook.
Oh,
it never had a prayer.
It was poor
It
thing. Jackson Dart, equipment manager at Ole Miss. Y'all need to tighten his helmet, get him a different.
Yeah. I think it was flying off left and right.
But it was like it didn't even need to be hit, a certain way. It was just like flip.
It wouldn't, people didn't hit his helmet. He got hit in the chest once, and just the action of his head going forward flicked it off of his head. It was
I'm like, weird. I don't know if he's putting like grease in his hair and it's just slicking it off or what.
But all that hair, I don't know what's going on.
Equipment managers need to do something.
All right, let's talk about UTSA Roadrunners at Tennessee. Tennessee winning this one 45-14. Jesse got the point here. I don't have anything to say. Matt, you're the Tennessee fan. What you got?
I'm glad that the boys managed to take care of business. I mean, this was what we wanted to see. The offense actually looked like it had a pulse this week, compared to last week against Florida. Milton comes out on the first play from scrimmage and takes it. I don't know what that was. It was, I think, 81 yards. Definitely putting a bit of a kibosh on the bench Joe Milton crowd. Although I'm sure they'll be coming back out here pretty quickly before too long. So Milton had himself a day. 18 to 31, his accuracy still a bit touchy. I mean, but he finished with 2 touchdowns and over 200 yards passing, so we really can't complain about that. The thing I want to understand, and the thing that doesn't make sense to me, and I'm not gonna, and I'm still drinking the Big Orange Kool-Aid. I am not gonna sit here in judgment of our grand Lord and Savior Josh Heupel, but I don't understand why Dylan Sampson did not get more carries in the Florida game, because he looked absolutely electric in this game. He had 11 carries. He got over 139 yards rushing. He averaged 13 yards every time he touched the ball. He had 2 touchdowns, 1 big run of 44 plus yards in this game. Why are we not feeding this man more carries? I don't get it. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. And especially with the way that Tennessee schemed, if you can establish that run, that little, veered kind of inside run, it's only going to take 2 or 3 of those really long runs from Sampson or Jabari Small or Jalen Wright to pull that ball, and then Milton takes off the other direction, kind of like what they did in that very first play. That should be the bread and butter. That should be what they're doing. There's been a lot of screen plays and stick plays and jet sweep stuff and all that, and it seems a bit much when you can actually run the ball a little bit. Now, granted, I'm taking this with a grain of salt because it was UTSA, and no disrespect to the Roadrunners. But again, we need to be able to find a way to do this in conference play. Will we do that? I don't know. We saw how the offense looked against Florida. It makes me a little nervous going into Carolina this week, but hope springs eternal. So we'll see how the Orange do.
Well, Tennessee fans had to have had a collective gasp when Milton went down there. His leg got bent very awkwardly, and I thought he's coming out of the game, but miraculously he kind of popped back up after that and seemed to be okay.
Apparently you can literally bend your knee in the most ungodly ways and you just tear an MCL. And it's
right.
fine.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know the Nick Chubb thing.
I will never be. I've never seen anything like that in my life. And for them to come out this weekend and be like,
I know there's advances in modern science and medicine and things like that, but even with all that, I was like, that guy is going to be lucky to be able to walk again, much less play a sport.
I was like, honestly, you just take it off at that point. Like, can you even get it right?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. So, thankfully Milton was okay. And like you said, we'll see what they do in conference play once it gets here. So in a little bit more regular.
Real quick, before we move on to this game, did y'all see the face mask that happened to Nico in this game?
I don't think I saw that one.
Okay. It was literally the most egregious face mask I've ever seen in my life. Like full, face is this way.
Yeah.
The helmet goes this way.
I hate those.
Like everybody and their mother could see that face mask and it didn't get flagged.
Didn't get called.
It was awful. I'll find it later and send it in the group chat. It
Yeah,
was
when the
a
guy can't see
terrible,
because
terrible
his
thing.
helmet has been spun around on his head, that's a
It
little
was
telltale.
bad. It was so bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, the next game, Arkansas at LSU, was a really close one. LSU just barely surviving Arkansas here, 34-31. I got the point here. So Arkansas, as we mentioned last week, has been a problem for LSU. Last year, it was more of a defensive struggle. This year, more of an offensive shootout of sorts. I didn't think they would walk into Tiger Stadium and hang with LSU all the way to the end, though. I did not see that coming. Arkansas, is one of those deals where once the clock starts ticking down near the end and LSU's right there about to score, it's the conundrum. Do you let them go ahead and score so you can have time to try to make a comeback, or what do you do? In the end, they stuck to their guns trying to stop them, and LSU kicked a field goal with only a few seconds remaining. Arkansas tried an unsuccessful Hail Mary after the kickoff, and that was the game. But again, penalties a big issue for Arkansas. More so in the second half than the first half, but still a problem. But still, I'm impressed with them even sticking with them, and making it a close game. Great game for Arkansas. Jesse, what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things. On the LSU side of the ball, it was like an early interception from Jaden Daniels. A lot of quarterbacks would be kind of rattled about that, but it didn't seem to derail him at all. He's a senior, so he does have a little bit more playing time than several quarterbacks across other teams, but I thought he was very composed. He put together a really solid performance later in the game when, their backs are a little bit against the wall. You're unsure how it's going to go. And it was the type of performance you would expect from a seasoned quarterback. And again, like I said, he is a senior, but it's got to be encouraging as an LSU fan to see that confidence and see him to be able to kind of keep that composure and get them out of a very tough game. But for the Razorbacks, they dominated time of possession. You look at the stat line by almost 10 minutes. And they dominated it, especially in the first half, spending nearly 19 minutes with the ball. But it was like 2 Razorback drives within, the LSU, inside the LSU 10, ended with field goals. And obviously that's something that my team struggles with, but you've got to be able to capitalize in the red zone, especially against a team like LSU. You just, especially at Death Valley, like when you get there, you gotta score a touchdown. It's very hard to win on field goals. It happens, but you feel a lot better when you're able to score a touchdown. And had they been able to do that, this is a very different game. Also, KJ Jefferson, 2 interceptions. You can't turn the ball over like that against LSU in Death Valley. They'll find a way to win. So if I'm an LSU fan, I am encouraged by my quarterback's performance and maybe a little not concerned with the defense, but definitely wanting them to shape up a little bit. And then Arkansas, it's not where I saw them being record-wise at this point in the year. So a little disappointing.
Yeah, as we said last week, KJ Jefferson making great plays, but you got to take care of the football. On the other side, like you mentioned, Jaden Daniels, his post-game interview, he said that he just wanted to focus and make sure that the moment didn't get too big for him. And as you mentioned, just that maturity of being an experienced player, I'm sure helping out there. Matt, what were your thoughts on this one?
I was anticipating LSU to win this thing, but I was not anticipating Arkansas to hang around like they did, and they made a game out of it. I mean, kudos to Arkansas. A couple breaks in the game, they go their way, they find a way to win this thing. The thing that kind of stands out to me is KJ Jefferson. I only have the stat line right in front of me from last year. Well, no, he's pretty good with the ball last year. It's just these interceptions seem to be playing a pretty big part. He threw 1 last week against BYU. He threw 2 against LSU. And I think it's like we said, you got to do a better job of protecting the football. You got to do a better job of making sure you're not giving the opposing offense more time with the ball or more opportunities to score. And man, it's one of those things where you feel like you're going to get there, and then Arkansas came up a little bit short. Penalties were a big problem here. And again, Arkansas sitting at 2-2. I was anticipating it to be a little bit better than that, and yet here we are. So we'll have to wait and see. There's a lot of football left to play. And if Jefferson can continue to keep his team in there, then they'll be okay. But oof, that's a tough way to lose it on a last second field goal like that.
I
No
have to
doubt.
wonder too, and I don't know the feelings in Fayetteville. I don't know a lot of Arkansas fans, to be honest, but how long is their patience? We talk a lot about schools not being patient with coaches, and it's not like Arkansas has a terrible program. They did at one point, but they've slowly been building it back. But I have to wonder how long does their patience run?
I don't know. They've had so many bad coaches that they kind of have to feel kind of good with what they've got right now.
Yeah,
I don't
that's kind
know.
of where I'm coming from too.
One thing that is really helping Sam Pittman out right now is KJ Jefferson and Raheem Sanders, who was actually out for this game. That was a big story for this one, which may have played a part. So I don't know. Speaking of struggling in the red zone, Charlotte at Florida. Florida winning this one 22-7. Jesse got the point here. Yeah, I mean, like I said, they got to beat Florida playing Charlotte, who, if you haven't seen Charlotte's head coach, some great comments. It looks like the guy who just walked in from what did he say, his seventh grade
Seventh grade
PE
gym class.
Yeah. Oh man, so that was classic. But Florida, I mean, they're settling for 5 field goals against Charlotte, which, I mean, kudos to the field goal kicker. I mean, that, he's getting some reps in there. But I don't know. They're going to want to do better against that's not going to prepare them for other teams. Matt, what are your thoughts?
I think this is a bit of a hangover game. Because remember, you're coming off a win against Tennessee.
Yep.
I think that there's a lot of high there, and I think this is kind of we weren't really ready to come off of that yet sort of situation. 1 for 9 on third down is atrocious, especially against, let's call it what it is, an inferior opponent in the form of the Charlotte 49ers.
The 49ers.
It's kind of disheartening. If you're a Florida fan, you kind of have to be looking around going, what happened? Last week we were all just guns a-blazing. We were great. And then this week you come out and you turn the ball over twice and you just don't look very good offensively. You have to settle for field goals when you should be sticking it down their throat. Like, it's one of those situations where you kind of have to go, okay, where are we at and where is this going? And Florida's schedule doesn't get any easier from here. I don't think they play another kind of gimme game except Vanderbilt. They don't play another gimme game for the rest of the season. Vanderbilt's it. So this is not where you want to be if you're a Florida fan. You want everything to kind of be laid out for you. You want the offense clicking along with how they looked against Tennessee. And again, if you let yourself get behind or let yourself get in a situation where you're having to settle for field goals, you're not going to win very many ball games. You're just not going to. So if I'm a Florida fan, I'm a little concerned, especially when you look at who they got left on the schedule. It's not a good situation to be in.
Yeah, Florida's one of those teams we're going to see just by default the way the team has been. We're going to see inconsistencies this year. Jesse, what do you think?
I agree. I think it was what I expected. It was a hangover game. It was a lot of hype. There was also a lot of injuries coming out of the Tennessee game. So I think they were hoping they could coast in this game and maybe didn't focus as much as they should. Obviously, when you have 2 turnovers, that's not great. When you get in the red zone, again, I'm going to say it for nearly every single team, and you're not converting to a touchdown in the red zone and you're settling for a field goal. Good gracious, 5 field goals against Charlotte. I mean, congrats to their defense, but you can't do that against SEC opponents or any other, Power 5 conference opponents. You have to be able to convert in the red zone. And it's a problem. It's going to be a problem for them going forward if they don't tighten up this week. But if I'm a Florida fan, I'm hoping that this was just a hangover game and that we were caught sleeping. But the thing is, with teams like this, you can't let them stick around long enough for them to think they have a shot. Yeah. That's when you get in trouble. And turnovers and settling for field goals, which again, getting field goal, great. You got points on the board, but there's obviously a better option. So tighten up, Gators, tighten up.
Yeah, Norm the Niner nearly with cause for celebration in this one. So, all right. Next was UAB at Georgia. Georgia winning this one 49-21. Jesse gets the point here. Yeah, a little bit of a slow start again, but like I know I've heard them talk about injuries, and I guess really once you start getting into the numbers is when I really started to realize that how much they've been mounting for Georgia with 9 guys out of this one. 3 of which running backs, 6 starters. One of the running backs was Kendall Milton. Ladd McConkey still out with a lingering back injury. Mims, the offensive tackle, he's going to miss extensive time. He's been out for a while as well. Coach Smart says this is the longest injury list he's seen at Georgia. I'm sure that's a rough thing to look at, especially as we get into the thick of conference play here. All in all, still did what we needed to do. I mean, you don't want to give up 21 points to UAB, but, I don't know, all the things considered, maybe not as bad. I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to make myself feel good about it. So, yeah, but yeah, like I said, now the cupcakes are over. So we'll kind of see how things go from here. One thing that's kind of cool in his 100th game as head coach, Kirby Smart's broken Bear Bryant's SEC record for win percentage through 100 games, and Nick Saban's mark for most on-field wins through 100 games at an SEC school. So that was kind of cool. And when they asked him about it, how does it feel after your 100th game? He said, it went fast. 100 games went by like that. So, I don't know. I can't remember who went first last time.
Wes, stop. You don't have to look so pleased with yourself, man. God help us.
Sorry. Look,
I saw that stat on Twitter and I was like, what? Oh, I hate it so much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so, isn't it kind of funny because it was just like 2.5 years ago, we were talking about is Kirby Smart, Mark Richt 2.0.
We did say that.
And so, I mean, I guess,
I wonder how Mark Richt's numbers would have looked if he had won a national championship or two in that 100-game span. Would they look different? Would they look better?
I think even one championship would have probably gotten Richt possibly the job for life. It was the fact that we were always up there and were never able to win the big game. That was true. What did it in the end. So I even saw Facebook.
That doesn't do anything for me. As the two gentlemen that he got ahead of. But I think the two things that stand out to me on this, obviously there's injuries. Yes. 3 turnovers. Not great. Not disciplined. And then allowing UAB 336 total yards of offense. That's kind of a lot. They won, they put it away. Okay. But I think we're seeing this, and we've seen it now across 4 games. Slow starts. And if I'm a Georgia fan, I've got to start wondering at what point those slow starts are gonna cause a very big issue. Who's gonna capitalize on that? Because somebody just might. Odds are. So I just would maybe put a little Red Bull in the Gatorade.
Yeah. That's that's fair. Also, did y'all know so Trent Dilfer is the coach of UAB, and obviously he is a big name and attracts pretty big talent, especially when it comes to quarterbacks. He's kind of known for quarterbacks and development of quarterbacks and things like that. So I do anticipate that program to get better. Obviously they're not a powerhouse and just got their football program back just a few years ago and all that, but I think they'll do good things eventually. So
yeah, I mean, they've had it almost a decade now. They got it back when I was in school.
Yeah.
Before I graduated, for sure. And I think the tough thing for them is it's in Birmingham, which is fine, but you're 40 minutes away from Tuscaloosa.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And if you want to go to a program that's probably that size, you might want to go to other places.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
Let's cool mascot if nothing else.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Dragons or Blazers are cool.
It is pretty cool. Next is Memphis at Missouri. Mizzou to the Lou. It was our favorite.
Oh, Wes, why?
Because you have to, Matt.
No, we don't have to. None of
They
that needs to
have to.
happen. No, they don't. By the way, Missouri's undefeated.
They are undefeated. They're 4-0.
What weird world are we living in when
You were just
drinking
talking about the
it's
East.
just
Yeah.
Who's second in the East, Matt?
I hate it so much.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if we want to keep it Missouri themed, it's Mizzou 30 to 27.
Oh God, Wes.
Yeah, I got the point in this one, but yeah, I mean, so this one was kind of a back and forth slugfest between these two. But Mizzou keeps their roll going, improving to 4-0, another big out of conference win against a decent Memphis team. So, I mean, oh man, there's so much with this Mizzou team. I feel like it's so volatile right now, right? Like things could be really good or things could be really bad from here on out with Mizzou. So because there's so much expectation building up because of this. So also, do you guys remember Hudson Mason? Do you remember that name?
I do, but I don't
Former
know.
quarterback for Georgia.
Yeah.
He was a quarterback for a little bit. He's a commentator now, and he was commentating this game. I was like, "Hi, it's Hudson Mason." So anyway,
Everybody's a commentator now.
right? Well, there's so many games to cover. You really can be, and pretty much. Matt, what were your thoughts on this one? Other than a disdain for the name.
No. Listen, we're going to talk about this. This Mizzou to the Loot thing is god awful, and it needs to be stopped. It's a national nightmare. I'm sorry, it is. Oh,
there's more to
Missouri,
follow after this.
Oh God. Good kudos to Missouri for finding a W in this one. By the way, I'm still trying to figure out how you managed to win a game by going 0 for 8 on third down. That doesn't make sense to me.
Get a first down on first down.
No, come on now, come on. Over 500 yards against Memphis. That's not too bad. So Missouri is looking decent. I hesitate to say they look great, just because they really haven't stacked up against a whole lot yet. We'll have to wait and see what they get into a little bit later. I mean, when you look at their wins, it's against South Dakota, MTSU. They found a way to shock Kansas State. I'm still trying to figure out what happened there. They get Vanderbilt this week. We could potentially be looking at an undefeated Missouri team going into the LSU game in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. I don't like it at all. So yeah, okay.
The East upsets me.
Missouri.
Yeah, Jesse, continue.
The East just upsets me. I don't know what y'all do over there, but I don't like it. I feel like I didn't win the point for this one, but I had a feeling that Mizzou was going to let Memphis hang around. And Memphis, like I said last week, is not a program to joke around about. They're a pretty decent program, and they've given people a really tough time in recent days. So I don't know. Just do they win it if there's not 2 turnovers? Maybe. I don't know. I don't like the East. That's really all this boils down to. I don't like the East.
It's morphing into a very confusing.
Jesse. Nobody really likes Alabama, so
that's fair. And it's not even that I don't like the East because schools have beaten us from the East. I feel like I just don't ever know what's going on in the East.
We don't either.
I don't like that.
It's kind of like, I don't know. Are we going to show up this week? Maybe. We'll see. All right, let's go to Mississippi State at South Carolina. South Carolina winning here 37-30. I get the point here. And I felt like these teams were pretty evenly matched, and the scoreboard reflected that. And this one was back and forth also. It seemed like we had several of those that were kind of back and forth. Exciting games to watch for sure. With tons of offense here, and South Carolina in the end hangs on for the win. Jesse, what were your thoughts on Mississippi State at South Carolina?
Honestly, and it's weird to say it, but Spencer Rattler does things. He is by far the cornerstone of not just their offense, but I would say their football team in general. He had a great game as, signal caller. He completed all 13 of his throws in the first half for 162 yards and 2 touchdowns. His final numbers, 18 for 20, which is 90% for 288 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's pretty good and is a lot better than the Spencer Rattler of inconsistency that we saw when he first got to Carolina. The Gamecocks defense struggled. The Bulldogs, who now after losing Mike Leach, have departed from their air raid offense. And again, we know that there's going to be some struggles there when you change that up with the recruits that were recruited into that offense. But they have a more run-heavy system now. And it seemed like the Carolina defense did not hold up well with that. They exploited their secondary and were pretty successful on the ground. On the other side, I will say for the Bulldogs, quarterback Will Rogers completed 11 of 17 passes for 259 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception in the first half. And, his previous season high of passing yards was just 227 against Southeastern Louisiana. So he still had a really good day as well. I think this was, like you said, evenly matched. You had 2 really great quarterbacks for their teams going against each other. And it just, to me, seemed like defense was not quite as up to par as the offense was, but a lot of yardage, total yardage in this game. So fun one to watch.
Matt.
Yeah, like Jesse said, if you like scoring, this was the game for you. I'm every week goes by, I'm more impressed with Spencer Rattler. He's shown a lot of progression over the last couple of years. He's come a long way, I feel like. He looked really good against Tennessee last year, much to our chagrin. He's looked really good so far this year. In fact, if I'm going to pull up his season stats so far just to get a look. But as far as this game goes, it was a question of who was just going to score last, and it just happened to be Carolina. So through the season thus far, Spencer Rattler's thrown for 504. No, that can't be right. Hold on, I'll find it. Here it is. He's thrown for 1,200 yards. Okay, he's completed 74% of his passes. He's thrown 7 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So I mean, he's having a pretty good year so far. And it doesn't look like anybody's really going to be able to figure out a way to shut that down completely. Now, granted, Carolina's 2-2 right now, but I would say they've still got some improvement to do. Defensively especially, and they're just going to have to find a way to make that work. If they can give Spencer Rattler a little bit of padding on defense, I think that Carolina could surprise some folks.
Yep.
With that being said, I think that Mississippi State's defense didn't play a great game. So I think it's a question of finding a way to tweak those things that work for Carolina. Mississippi State's going to have to figure something else out too. Because you can't rely on Will Rogers the entire time. You're going to have to find another venue to get some yards on offense, and you're going to have to do something about that defense. You're just going to have to.
Threw it almost 50 times for
that's a lot. It's
almost 500 yards.
Probably needed to ice his elbow after the game, like he's a pitcher in the MLB.
Right. All right. Well, that does it for last week's games. Current pick'em standings. I've got 18. Matt's got 17. Jesse's got 10. So some shifting going on. All right, well, let's go ahead and talk about some listener feedback.
You want answers! I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
All right, so after asking for some feedback and some thoughts on last week's games, Janet says that there were many close calls and nail-biter endings, teams that better wake up before halftime against bigger opponents or they will lose. Penalties continue to be a major issue for some. Better tighten up. So that's definitely true. We saw that in multiple instances. Seth says Auburn will be good in the future, but has a lot of work ahead of itself. So I would agree with that. I don't think so. From the standpoint of Hugh Freeze has won everywhere he's been. So
That's true.
You sort of get the sense that it's only a matter of time. Now, what's the extent of that winning going to be? I don't know, but I feel like he'll, at least rise them from where they are now. Raise them, whatever.
We know.
And yeah, okay, so Brandon has this to say. He says, why did Bama and LSU swap places? Talking about the AP poll. Bama's team was wildly inconsistent. The first half was probably the worst fielded performance by a Saban-led Bama team ever. LSU, on the other hand, played consistent football throughout their game, and the battle for the boot has been historically a close-played game, regardless of AP ranking of either team. Like, I know AP poll, as we've mentioned on this show many times, it's a just for fun poll. But why did they swap places, Matt?
I can tell you why, because the AP has no sense of logic. And you can't apply logic when it comes to rankings. You might as well forget about it. So, Brandon, I agree with you, but the fact of the matter is you can't use logic to come up with rankings. It's just not feasible.
Right. Jesse, do you have something? You probably have some
I
thoughts.
mean, I don't know that they've necessarily swapped places. He
just means numerically in the AP from last week to this week.
Yeah, I mean, oh, that. Yeah, I mean, I also don't know that this is the worst fielded performance by a Saban-led Bama team ever. I'm sure
maybe the South Florida game.
South Florida, I would also say maybe watch 2007 season.
Yeah.
So just historically, maybe not. But, again, rankings don't matter until we get to the selection show. So
I think that obviously they're not going to get rid of the AP poll just because of history and what it means to a lot of people. But it also drives ratings, right? Because if you can say this is between the number 3 and the number 5, it's a top 5 matchup. It doesn't matter, but it's a top 5 matchup. So, I get it why they continue to do it, driving ratings.
And then they love putting rankings up on those screens. Look what they did with Colorado and Oregon this past week. That meant
oh my goodness.
Yep,
nothing.
100%. And then I always like to try to end on a fun one here. On TikTok, some dude named Lando responded to our Mizzou to the Lou video and said, LOL, making fun of St. Louis, go work out, get a life. And I have to say, this was a life-changing moment for me personally.
Absolutely.
Lando, I mean, is that as in Calrissian? I don't know. But regardless, I can really tell that you care. So after this, I made the choice that I am going to go work out and I'm going to get a life. Thanks to that one comment. Life-changing. Matt?
I have a question. Did we make fun of St. Louis? I don't recall making fun of St. Louis.
The Mizzou to the Lou.
We were making fun of the slogan.
That was more of us making fun of Missouri than it was, although St. Louis.
I probably made fun of.
You said something about Chicago. That's why people in Chicago make fun of people from St. Louis.
Yes, 1,000%. And as someone that
see Jesse's our lightning rod on TikTok. She's gonna find somebody that's really upset about something, and she's gonna say it.
I hate to break it to them. I'm not the only person from Chicago that makes fun of them. And as someone with the Chicago flag tattooed on my body, I will continue to make fun of St. Louis. You do have great toasted ravioli, so that's something that you can hang your hat on. But no one's gonna stop making fun of St. Louis.
How do you feel about St. Louis barbecue?
It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, I don't know.
It's fine. It's not my favorite. It's fine.
Yeah. But I just wanted to say that was a life-changing comment. I'm definitely going to change the things that I do. Thank you, Lando. All right. So, that does it for listener feedback. Let's talk about some of the upcoming games.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Matt can't contain himself already. So
I don't want the stress in my life. I just don't want the stress in my life.
All right, the first game that we've got is number 22 Florida, 3-1, 1-0 in the SEC at Kentucky, 4-0 and 1-0 in the SEC. 4-0 Kentucky, 1-0 in the SEC. Noon on ESPN. Matt, what is your prediction for Florida at Kentucky?
If this was a night game, I would say for a fact that Kentucky's going to win this by 2 scores, but the fact it's a noon game makes me think that Kentucky's still going to find a way to win, but it's going to be relatively close. So I'm going to say Kentucky wins this thing 28-24.
Okay. Florida had a big win a couple weeks ago, but they're a bit lackluster against Charlotte, and I think Kentucky brings them a bit back down to earth here. I got Kentucky 24-21. Jesse?
I'm going to go against you guys, and I'm actually going to pick the Gators. I think they did let Charlotte hang around. Was it Charlotte? Yeah, whoever. Hang around just a little bit too long. But I think that they're going to clean it up. That was just a little bit of a fluke game. And again, it's like Matt said, it's noon. It's not a night game in Kroger Field. I think it's going to be close and they clean it up. So I'm going to pick the Gators in this one, 28-21.
All right. Next, Texas A&M 3-1, 1-0 in the SEC at Arkansas, 2-2, 0-1 in the SEC. Noon on SEC Network from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Matt, what's your prediction for A&M at Arkansas?
I think A&M's going to be out in front through most of this game. Arkansas will score late to make it a little bit. There's a dog. I think A&M will probably, or sorry, Arkansas will probably score a little late to make it seem closer than it was. But I don't think A&M's really going to struggle here. I think A&M's going to win this thing 35-24.
It's a good pick, but not so fast, my friend.
Yeah, of course.
It's not a home game for A&M. No 12th man. Arkansas is coming off a bitter defeat because they hung with LSU and just came up short. I think they could just kind of taste that victory, that upset win, and they have a hunger even more so than ever now. So I'm going to say Arkansas pulls off a nail biter. Arkansas 28-27. Jesse?
I went back and forth on this one, but honestly, I don't know. Even though it's in Fayetteville, I'm not convinced. I think it's going to be a close one, but I do think that Texas A&M pulls this one out. So I'm going to pick the Aggies 31-27.
Yeah, and that's what, like an 11 o'clock kickoff local time out there? That's just, early games out there.
Noon?
Good times. Yeah.
No, what is it?
Noon for
Noon East
noon
Coast.
for us. So yeah.
Noon.
It's 11
Are they
o'clock over
Central
there.
or Mountain? So it's either
Central.
I think
Oh,
they're
11
Central. I think
Yeah, I don't think
in Texas. Yeah.
I don't think you get into.
well, they're
Mountain
in
until you get to
Fayetteville.
Texas.
They're in
So
Arlington. It's in Arlington. It's at AT&T Stadium in Arlington.
oh, in Arlington. Oh, then yeah, they're
Try to
Central.
keep it up, Jesse.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
The dog was losing her
No,
mind.
yeah.
Losing.
Understand, can relate. All right. Next, number 1 Georgia, 4-0, 1-0 in the SEC at Auburn, 3-1, 0-1 in the SEC. This is the Deep South's oldest rivalry, going back to 1892. 3:30 on CBS. Matt, what's your prediction for Georgia and Auburn?
First off, I guarantee you that Gary Danielson will be a horse's patoot again in this game, because we haven't seen him on talk bad about it in the ESEC in a while. But with that being said, I'm pretty sure Georgia will win this thing. I think it'll be pretty comfortable win for them. So I'm gonna say Georgia wins 35-20.
Let's do a side bet here on how many times is CBS going to show footage of Uga trying to bite the Auburn player on the sidelines? What do you think, Matt?
One time.
One time, Matt. Jesse says twice. Man, okay, I'm going to go with 3 just to be that guy, just because. And CBS is excessive.
I think they show what was it, 2013 play, like that wild, the prayer and Jordan Hare.
Oh yeah, gosh, yeah.
Look for that.
As a Georgia fan, the only person who, well, I won't say more excited about the kick 6, but almost as excited about the kick 6 was Georgia fans, not because of hatred for Alabama, although some may hate Alabama, but because it kind of helped everyone forget the prayer at Jordan Hare, yes. Which was terrible in its own right. So
bad. Yeah.
Anyway, gonna go. Let's see. Georgia saw some things that A&M was able to do successfully last week against Auburn, I believe, on the defensive side of the ball. And I think they're able to hold Auburn and get a win on the road in the SEC, which is a tough thing to do almost anywhere in the SEC. I'm going Georgia 28-10. Jesse?
I don't trust Auburn. I don't trust Auburn
Don't do
at
it.
Georgia. I also think Georgia's been starting slow. And they have a lot of injuries. So I think the Bulldogs pull this one out, but I think you're going to see a first half that might be a little yee. So I'm going to pick the Bulldogs 31-21, but they're not going to pull away until the second half.
Okay. All right. Next is number 23, Missouri, 4-0, 0-0 in the SEC at Vanderbilt, 2-3, 0-1 in the SEC. 4 o'clock on SEC Network. Matt, what's your prediction? Mizzou at Vandy. Are you okay? Are you okay, my friend? I think he's frozen. Is he frozen? He's not just kidding with us. He's actually frozen, I think.
I think he's frozen. Otherwise, he doesn't blink, which is concerning.
Yeah, would be a little concerning. All right. Well, I think let's go ahead and go with me. And I'm going to say Missouri. They got to be careful here. I think this because they're riding high. We've talked about their fast start. One of the only undefeated teams in the SEC, and probably expect to be able to do what they want to in this game because it's Vandy, right? So that they got to go against that kind of mentality as well. This is where we see if Drinky's taken that next step as a coach, right? Because we've all seen it. We've seen teams riding that wave and then come crashing down. We've seen a lot of good things so far this season for Mizzou. This is a dangerous game. I think it's partially on the coach to get them in the right frame of mind for this one. So I'm going to say that they do that in this one. I'm going Mizzou 31-14, and they improved to 5-0 on the season, as we mentioned. Jesse, what do you got?
You're calling for a really big Toughness Tuesday tomorrow.
That's right.
And when we record,
Circling the wagons.
I agree. Vanderbilt has also been that team that can trip people up when they are riding high. So you do have to be a little bit careful, but I agree. I think they get it done here. I think that the Tigers pulled this one out pretty easily. So I'm picking Mizzou 34-6.
Okay. Welcome back, Matt. We thought
my
that you were
stuff
just messing with us, and then we realized that you weren't blinking. It was like,
No.
Matt is not blinking. What is going on?
No, my internet decided to just stop. So
Okay.
it did that. Where were we at? I'm sorry.
No, you're actually perfect timing. We've just gone through the 2 picks for Mizzou, and we're to you for a pick on Mizzou at Vandy.
Yeah, I don't foresee Missouri having that much trouble with Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's not done anything to impress me this year. They don't show me they're a good football team. I'm going to say Missouri 35-10.
All right. Next, number 13 LSU 3-1, 2-0 in the SEC. At number 20 Ole Miss 3-1, 0-1 in the SEC. 6 p.m. on ESPN. Matt, your pick for LSU at Ole Miss.
I want to pick Ole Miss in this so bad because I feel like Lane needs a bounce back game, but I don't think it's going to be here. I think LSU still finds a way to win this thing. Granted, Ole Miss has home field advantage. I don't think it's going to be enough. I think LSU wins this thing 28-24.
Okay. Yeah, like you said, home game for Ole Miss. LSU's looked vulnerable at times this season. Obviously, the loss to FSU. Also, the close one last week against Arkansas. So it looks like Ole Miss is going to put the game on Jackson Dart's shoulders, at least if last week is any indication, and what we've seen from Judkins also so far. Might be a long game for Jackson Dart. So I'm going LSU in a close one here, 31-28. Jesse?
I agree. I really wanted to pick Ole Miss in this one, but I don't think I can. It's like we talked about earlier. I think their defense just gets really gassed. And with a quarterback at the helm like Jaden Daniels, it's going to be a struggle. I think they hang with them really well, especially in the first half. And then once we start getting to the fourth quarter, I think that's when we're really going to sort of see some stuff. But it is going to be a close one. I think they're going to take some cues from Arkansas. And unfortunately, the Tigers will get it done in Oxford 24-21.
All right. Next, South Carolina 2-2, 1-1 in the SEC at number 21, Tennessee, 3-1, 0-1 in the SEC at 7:30 on SEC Network. Matt, what are your thoughts and your predictions on South Carolina at Tennessee?
Listen, I had a great meeting with Dr. Mendelbaum last week about my battered Vol syndrome. And
Is that a different doctor? I feel like it was a different name last week.
No, it's the same doctor.
Oh,
it's the same doctor. Stop that. Don't do that.
I didn't know if it was a second opinion or something.
No, you're gaslighting me. Don't do that. But listen, I've had some new coping strategies to kind of come to terms with how things go. You know, coping is part of one of those deals when it comes to battered Vol syndrome. So I hate this. I hate it so much. But Spencer Rattler's looked way too good, and he picked us apart last season. I feel like we've taken a couple steps back from last season. I can't pick Tennessee in this game. I just can't. I can't. I want to, but I can't. So I'm going to pick against the boys. Oh my God, I hate it so much. I'm going to say Carolina wins this thing 35-28.
Well, just the fact that you have the courage to pick against your team may indicate something good for Tennessee. I don't know. I think Vol fans are triggered by this matchup. Not just Vol fans. I think the team, the Volunteers, are triggered by this matchup. And I think that, plus the fact that it's in Neyland, is going to work in their favor. I'm going with Tennessee here. I'm going Tennessee 35-24. Jesse?
I am going to agree with Matt. I just have been liking what I'm seeing from Spencer Rattler. Again, I know that the defense needs to step it up, but I think in his hands, they're watching what happened at Florida. They're taking notes. They're feeling pretty good after last week. So I'm going to pick the Gamecocks in this one, in a close one, 28-24.
Okay. All right. The The final game of next week's slate of games: number 12 Alabama, 3-1, 1-0 in the SEC at Mississippi State, 2-2, 0-2 in the SEC. And why in the world is this game at 9:00? That's what I don't understand.
8:00
It's 8
Central.
o'clock Central. So, I mean, it makes
Still,
sense.
it seems like,
It
are we
sucks.
adjusting for something? Is there someone else on that we need to slide it over for? I don't get. They had 4 or 5 games on at 7 and 7:30 at the same time in the SEC last week, so I don't get it. Anyway, Matt, what's your prediction?
There's a lot here. There's so much here. The problem is that Bama hasn't really looked great this year. Mississippi State's defense has looked very suspicious as of lately, but Jalen Milroe just doesn't look great. So I'm gonna pick Mississippi State. I think this could be wrong. I don't know. Nothing makes sense anymore. I'm gonna go Mississippi State 28-27.
I mean, you're not wrong about nothing makes sense anymore. So from that standpoint, I mean, that logic checks out. And so who knows? But like I said, forget Pac-12 after dark. This is the late show in the SEC with Nick Saban and Zach Arnett. I think the line is Bama by 14.5 or something like that right now. It may have changed. I don't know. But Mississippi State's looked pretty bad in SEC play. Look no further than LSU a couple of weeks ago, too. Getting boat raced by them and losing to South Carolina, albeit in a close game. I think Bama is able to handle them. I'm going with the Tide 31-14. Jesse?
I appreciate that Vegas is confident and they know more than I do, but I am going to pick the Tide. However, I'm not as confident as Vegas is. I think we start a little bit slow like we did this past week against the other Mississippi team. And I think our defense keeps us in this. Will Reichard have another day, my dude? So I'm going to pick Bama 24-17.
All right. And as you noticed, going through these games, an SEC only slate of games this weekend. So good times. All right. So that does it for the upcoming games. Let's talk about a just for fun segment here. And, so many commercials, or so many coaches are doing commercials nowadays. And, it kind of got me thinking, what would be the perfect product for each SEC coach to endorse? Product or, let's see, a brand or some kind of entity for each SEC coach. What fits them? What product, what is a product that just fits them and their personality? Jesse, let's start with you, and we can go through each of these coaches and see who they would be in a commercial for. What you got?
Okay, so I just looked at them. I have not looked at.
I knew you would, because you like to do it in the moment. So yeah,
I like to just see what my brain comes up with. Jimbo Fisher. I am gonna go with a local pawn shop. I think he is the guy that's come down to Ricky's Golden Pawn. We give you the best deals on your, grandma's dead stuff, whatever. And then
grandma's dead stuff. I love it.
Yeah, estate sales. Kirby Smart.
This is all by chance, by the way. This is not. This was not planned.
Kirby Smart, I feel like he is for some sort of Croquis brand.
Okay.
He's just, and Croquis, for those that don't know what that is, it's the little sling on the back of your sunglasses. He just gives me Croquis vibes. So I feel like he goes in hard on those. Maybe it's the Oakley's ones, or PFG.
Maybe the ones that have the Bluetooth built in too.
Yeah, I get the feeling that he's no, these are not going to fall off. And then Shane Beamer, I think he would be the spokesperson for the store in the mall, Spencer's. And not just because he is the coach of Spencer Rattler, but he really likes to play jokes, it seems on his team. And there's a lot of silly things in Spencer. So that has a couple different meanings. But I also feel he's young enough to where Spencer's was probably really popular in the mall when he was growing up. And he's still about it.
And he has a coffee mug that says "World's Greatest Boss" for sure.
Absolutely. You know that. You know he's a big fan of The Office. He has to be.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they did the whole running past
Right.
the speedometer
Yeah,
thing.
but the argument could be made that was just some intern that came up with that idea.
Right. He still had to go along with it, but yeah. And so, just for the record, not mayo.
Mayo seemed like low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, I agree. Good call.
Oh, I
And
have more.
then,
Oh
yeah,
gosh.
sorry,
Oh,
yes, it's
Oh,
the
gosh.
next page there.
Okay.
Oh, she's unprepared. Do we need to circle back around?
No, oh
Well-
gosh, no, we're just gonna, Josh Heupel, and I'm so sorry, but I'm gonna say McDonald's because he reminds me of
God.
He reminds you of what?
he wears the orange. He looks like an orange grimace to me.
Okay,
Oh, that's my
So-
coach you're talking about.
I
so
know.
like a Fanta shake or something like that.
Yeah,
maybe.
he just but grimace.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say like Happy Meals.
Happy Meals.
Mark Stoops. I would have to say, I mean, it seems really easy to say this, but I'm gonna say like some sort of like rocks glass or like maybe a brand that does really nice scotch and whiskey ice cubes, like molds.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I love those. Matt, let's get to your coaches. Who do you got, and what are they selling?
Well, first off, I got Lane Kiffin.
No, you got Zach Arnett.
No, I thought I was doing. Oh, I
You
looked
got-
in the wrong
You
spot.
got those guys there. Yeah.
Ooh, now it's off the top of your
no.
head. This is
Oh no, you would give
And-
me drinky.
I know that's perfect, isn't it?
No, it's not.
bottom.
All right, so let me kind of ponder what I want to do.
I
here.
can go if you want a moment.
No.
Okay.
I got it. I just need a second to kind of collect my thoughts. All right, Zach Arnett definitely is going to be shilling for a gym of some
Yeah.
kind or
I
a
can see that.
bodybuilding program like P90X or something. Like he seems like a CrossFit kind of guy.
I was
So
waiting for the CrossFit.
I can kind of definitely get that vibe. I'm gonna circle back around and drink him and do him last.
Okay.
Brian Kelly. Ooh, Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly strikes me as the kind of guy that is going to probably be doing things for, say, a used car lot somewhere, maybe shilling like extended warranties on your car stuff. I just
Come down to see me and my family.
yeah, family. That seems kind of his vibe. Definitely, you know how you have when you watch, and I only know this because I live in Georgia and I'm inundated with it. But you know, you watch Georgia games, and it's always that video of Kirby running around in the Ford pickup truck. I'm sure they've got those commercials in in Louisiana, and it's probably him driving around in a big truck. So I mean, that definitely fits. I can't say what Hugh Freeze is shilling on this because
You could.
And
he's shilling the morning after pill.
Oh no.
it's like, oh my gosh, he's probably helping cell phone plans.
Yeah.
He is doing
Used to be track phone though, right? So
same difference. He's doing no going back to Hugh Freeze. He's really good buddies with a lawyer, and he does commercials for his lawyer buddy.
that's all.
Yeah, definitely that. And Clark Lee, I feel like he's going to, and this is low hanging fruit, but I'm gonna take it. I feel like he's going to be shilling a cream that you place on your head to get rid of follicles of your hair, so you can get that shaved look without actually having to shave.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. And then, did you say drinky?
You go ahead. We'll do
Okay,
drinky.
yeah, no, I want your full as much effort as you can put into this.
I don't believe that you assign these at random, Wes.
Isn't that crazy? It really
I
worked
got
out.
Jimbo, you got drinking.
The only thing that would have been better is for Jesse to have gotten Lane as well, because that's always a fun endeavor.
Yeah, but now I'm coming around to him, so I don't even know.
Well, that's true. Yeah. So so Lane, I think you could go so many directions with this, right? I'm thinking like Tinder, Bumble, or OnlyFans as a user, not a content creator.
Oh no!
Although
I don't need
I'm
that
sure
mental
someone would
picture.
enjoy that. But yes. So that's what I'm going with for Lane. Billy Napier. He just strikes me so like hunting land, leasing, or sales, or just land in general. He seems like the type of dude who just likes the outdoors and would be happy to hop on his ATV and show some prime hunting land. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just
Looks like Jason Statham's cousin.
Yeah, okay, I could see that. Yeah. Nick Saban. Yeah, so I think the obvious answer here would be like little Debbie oatmeal cream pies, right? And then the devil on my shoulder told me to say a senior citizens assisted living facility. And I'm going to have to go with I'm going to have to go with a little bit something a little bit different, some sort of anger management psychiatry, because whatever he's doing is working. Okay. He's a changed man. So
Maybe he's gotten hooked up with a Buddhist temple somewhere in
maybe so.
Alabama.
Can you
No, they
just
literally have a youth facility named after him at the Catholic Church. They donated, him and Miss Terry donated a lot of money. So they're members of the Catholic Church.
You know what I want? I want to see Nick Saban doing some transcendental meditation. That's what I want to see.
That would be a sight.
So Sam Pittman. All right. So you had a good point there, Matt. I saw your note on there, but I was going to go with cold beer at first, but well, just listen.
What's the drink of choice tonight?
Well, you know, I'm not promoting it, but I like some old cold beer. I think I'm gonna have one. I'm not promoting it now.
Enjoy it, Coach Pittman.
Go
How
does
Sam Pittman
celebrate being bowl eligible?
Well, I believe I'm gonna have my old cold beer. And that's kind of what I like to do, you know.
Do you need any company?
Anybody want to come, but bring some, you know what I mean?
BYOB, baby.
Go home.
I love the way that he says it too. It's not cold beer. It's cold beer. Yes.
But he's not promoting it.
He's not promoting it. So because he's not promoting it, I can't really go in that direction. So I'm going to go in another direction, which is also obvious, and that is Pit Boss Grills. I mean, the man loves barbecue, and Pittman, Pit Master, it just makes sense, right?
Who pigs through it, you know.
Yeah, go Hogs.
Oh yeah, that's built in.
Matt Drinky, what you got?
Okay, so Drinky is shilling for some sort of comic book store, nerd video game store thing whatsoever. It makes the most sense because Drinky is a giant geek. I know my people. All right, I know what we look like. I am one of them. Okay, he's into some nerdy stuff. I don't know what it is, but there's something. I would be willing to bet he's probably into Warhammer. He's into Warhammer. Look. I'm into Warhammer. I made this little guy a couple months ago. This is the nerdiest crap I've ever done in my life. I guarantee you Drinky's into it too. I guarantee it.
He showed up to a press conference with a lightsaber. So
he's a nerd. He's a
I
nerd.
would have assumed like those 1-800 commercials where you buy a DVD set with the workbook that gets you inspired and boosts your confidence and you know all
Circle
that.
the wagons.
Yeah, so
for only 4 payments of $19.95, that type of stuff. Yeah,
just on like QVC.
Here's my book. Send me $50 for this book. It's called How to Get People to Send You $50 for a Book. So, whatever works. All right. Well, that was a good Just for Fun segment. We appreciate everyone listening. If you would like to contact us, please hit us up an email at pigskinsandpageantry@gmail.com. Our handle is at Pigskins and Pageantry on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And we are on X at PPSEC Podcasts.
Twitter.
Don't forget, Matt's never going to let that go. We are available for download on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, TuneIn Radio, most podcasting apps for iPhone, Android, and other operating systems. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment, subscribe, review. We'd love 5 stars. Yeah, like I said, all SEC play this week. Good times. We waited a long time for this. We're excited to watch it. Until next time, this is Wes. Go Dogs.
Y'all, I will be in my jammies for this one with that kickoff time. Less cowbell. Roll Tide.
I'm going to be calm. Everything will be fine. Go Vols.